Happy Monday. Happy Monday. Happy Monday. We in here. How y'all doing? Come on in. Got a good show today. I'm doing something different. Trying something. And I hope y'all willing to go along on this ride with me here on the Shoulders of Giants here tonight. It's a Monday night. And you know, I would usually go live on my Tuesday nights, but I got something to do. So I'm not going to be live tomorrow night. There will be no live show tomorrow night. That's one of the reasons why I'm going live tonight. But I want to try something. So it's Monday. So, you know, on Mondays, we do our book readings. So we are reading from Blueprint to Black Power today. And I'm connecting it to this Afroman trial. As you can see the title of it, Institutional Power versus Cultural Power. We're going to jump into that, deep into that topic. And but before we do that, we're also making sure that we come away with a better understanding of what power actually is and how power is actually used, how the power stays the powerful, how the powerful remain the powerful and the powerless remain the powerless. But with the Blueprint to Black Power, it's teaching us how to become powerful, how to become a better, more cohesive group of people, a more respected group of people. How you doing, Renee? How you doing? What's going on? How you doing tonight? So, like I said, I'm connecting chapter 1, pages 15 through 26 of the Blueprint for Black Power. The title of the chapter is What is Power? So once again, pages 15 through 26, I'm connecting that to the Afroman trial because we are in fact talking about the influence of power when we first get into it. So that's what we got. That's what we're getting into today. So it's a lot of good information that's going down. So I need y'all to come on in here. Need y'all to hit that like button. Need you to comment, subscribe, share. If you see that hype button, hit that hype button, hype this thing up. Let's get this out because you know, we're getting it in. We're going to do some learning tonight. Some good learning tonight. So if you haven't been paying attention to what's been going on in the news, over the last maybe 2 or 3 years, Afroman had a run-in with the law enforcement of his local town. And that led to them busting into his house, messing this stuff up, taking money, taking lemon pound cake. And that led to Afroman dropping videos about it. And then the local police department decided to sue Afroman. And the Afroman just recently won his lawsuit. And one of the ways we're connecting this to the Blueprint to Black Power is there's an excerpt in this NPR article where they interview Afroman. And he says, I asked myself, as a powerless Black man in America, what can I do to the cops that kicked my door in, tried to kill me in front of my kids, stole my money, and disconnected my cameras? And that's something that he told NPR in 2023. He also said, and the only thing I could come up with was make a funny rap song about them, use the money to pay for the damages they did, and move on. But, you know, that led to this lawsuit and where we are now. So I'm gonna read that again. He said, I asked myself, as a powerless Black man in America, what can I do to the cops that kicked my door in, tried to kill me in front of my kids, stole my money, and disconnected my cameras? So he's even articulating that he felt powerless. And so that leads us right into why we need to make sure we are learning from Dr. Amos Wilson and understanding this Blueprint to Black Power. So, you know, like always, if this is your first time tuning in, this is On the Shoulders of Giants. I am Joseph Ward. How you doing? And on Mondays, we do our book readings. We've been doing book readings for a while. and we're going to continue to do book readings. This is my first live book reading, so I want to try something different. So I want to go ahead and get into it because we got a lot of information to get into. Because of course, you know, I have reading from the book, but I also have my notes as well. So and I want to make sure we get everything in. So let me go ahead and run my commercial, and then we're going ahead and get into this first video and set the tone with Afroman. So here we go. So I told y'all I was gonna get my merch shop up and running. So I've got it. So I want to show y'all my merch shop. So this is it. So I got some hats. So I got my own The Shoulders of Giants hats available for order. I have shirts. This supposed to be like a canvas, some kind of shirt, jersey shirt. I don't know why they got that design, but it's a jersey shirt. Somebody wanted. Got hoodies, regular shirts, heavy, what they call it, the heavy tee, tees for men's, unisex tees for women, everything. I got a mug. I gotta get this mug too. But this is the merch that I have available. See, I got my mug, I have my hats, and I have my apparel available. And all of that is, the links and stuff are below and connected to the video. So I got my merch shop up and running, been working on that for a minute in the background to get my merch shop up and running. So I got it up and running. So if you want to support the channel, get you some merch, it's all available. Links below and links attached to the video. All right. So, and make sure you support the fundraiser that we have going on. The fundraiser is to support Black Biz Tally. And the purpose of the fundraiser is to raise $5,000 to support business owners, Black business owners, Black entrepreneurs, Black vendors within the Black Biz Tally marketplace, for startup vendors or long-time vendors or whatever they would need. So we just want to be able to raise some capital for them to be able to spur their business forward. And so we can help circulate that Black dollar more into the Black community. All right, so yes, hey, this Afroman thing is hilarious, Renee. You already know it is hilarious. So that's why we're getting into it, man. That's why we're getting into it, because it's funny, but yet we can connect it to what we got going on. So this is I want to play this video first of Afroman talking about the trial.
One of the officers.
What's going on, Jay? Quick.
He came up and apologized to me yesterday, and he was telling me how he's a Christian and, you know, this, that, and the other. And I told him that, you know, everything was all right. I love him and everything. But I told him, when he kicked down my door and when he told me he wasn't going to help me put it back up, I said, you wasn't a Christian right there. And I told him, when you flipped off my cameras, you wasn't a Christian right there. So I told him that even though I don't hate him and I forgive him, I told him I'm still going to sing that song. If I see him in Walmart, I'm not going to stare him down mean. I don't want to fight him. I ain't even mad at him. But I'm going to sing that song. If a man kills a man, he can apologize to the family, but he still got to go on to the penitentiary and do that time. Now, they broke down my door. They didn't pay for it. I'm not mad at him. You know, I'm ready to move on. In my opinion, if the plaintiffs would have won, I believe that judge would have read everything like some Englishman in a square, like hither, here. The plaintiffs, they get this, that, the other. But I think he looked through the paperwork and he's seen that I got cleared on everything. And I think he was so mad that he wanted to stay professional without showing his emotions. And he summed it up as short as possible. And he like just disappeared. And we all had to figure out that court was over and we could go. and my lawyer had to come over and tell me that we won. He had to whisper to me because I didn't know what was I'm like, hey, what happened? I didn't know what he said. He said something really brief and quick. And my lawyer said, hey, He whispered, he said, "We've won." I didn't know how it was going to go, but I knew I did the most peaceful, civilized thing I could do, I thought, to raise money to pay for the damages. I knew they had no business coming to my house in the first place. That's one of them lessons you learn from your dad. You know what I mean? My dad used to tell me, "I'm not going to whoop you for fighting. I'm going to whoop you because you was over there. Because if you wasn't over there, you wouldn't have gotten a fight." And that's a lesson, in my opinion, they should have learned from their daddy. At the same time,
That's
I
hilarious.
always figured I had freedom of speech. That's why I didn't feel like I was committing a crime. I thought I was doing something legal and positive when I made these songs, to be honest with you.
Yeah.
Because coming up, you hear we have freedom of speech. I even got a single out. It says, "Don't you remember? You said I had freedom of speech." So, I took it for granted. I always thought I had it. So when the cops left, I thought I was being a peaceful civilian, kicking a can in my backyard, writing some songs, trying to sell some tapes and do something positive from the entire experience to pay for the damages.
Yo, hey, that's what's up, man. Afroman, making the most out of this. But once again, this goes with what we're talking about today: institutional power versus cultural power. Dub, what's going on? I missed the TBA. I got to go check it out. So I didn't want to see nobody else's opinion or have my opinion on this swayed by anybody else's commentary before I do this. So I got to go back and check that out. So like I said, this is our Monday book reading. And so we are connecting this to Dr. Amos Wilson's Blueprint to Black Power, Chapter 1, What is Power? Pages 15 through 26. We're starting on page 15. And this part is influence as power. It says, influence occurs when a person acts in compliance with the wishes or directions or suggestions of another, based on his sheer positive regard for love and admiration of one of the other, or based on the desire to please or serve the other because of the other's personal significance to him. Influence is achieved when the subject's behavioral compliance is attained without the influential party having to possess or to use force, coercion, material rewards, or making appeals to authority. This is especially the case when the subject complies with the wishes, suggestions, or commands of the other while engaging in non-relevant, independent, and deliberate thinking, reasoning, or rational processes whatsoever, or when the subject complies out of a conditional habit of obedience in regard to the other. Right? Warnerberg mentions two important types of influence with which we are familiar: rational persuasion and personal persuasion. He also mentions a third, expertise, which we disguise as competent authority. In the first instance, the subject retains the use of his critical or rational faculties, but is led to reassess his understanding or perception of a situation or of reality, or to accept a reasonable or correct the conclusions reached and recommendations suggested by the other as the result of the other's apparently logical argumentation or reasoning. In the second instance, the subject's behavioral compliance, the argumentation or demand of the other, occur essentially because the wishes to satisfy the desires of the other as he perceives them to exist. As Warnerberg persists, the central feature of influence via personal persuasion is that the influential agent does not make her choices on the basis of reason that she can present in the form of rational argument, but rather on the basis of the desires of the influencing agent. Another form of persuasion might be referred to as a propagandistic persuasion, wherein through various media and forms of indoctrination techniques. The subject is influenced to accept certain opinions or beliefs, which led him to think that he is acting in his own interest when he really is not. So we're talking about the influence of power, rational power. We say rational persuasion or personal persuasion, or even what was the third one? And the expertise. How influence is used as power. So institutional power versus cultural power, right? Because Afroman was going up against a system, an institution. He was going up against the police. And as he said, as I read what he said, he's a powerless black man who all he knew what to do was to make a song. But in making that song, he tapped into cultural power. Now, one of the things, now, Renee, you hinted on, you talked about the suit. Well, Afroman used American cultural power. He didn't use specifically black cultural power. He used American cultural power. He tapped into some of the emotions, thoughts, and feelings of a lot of people who don't like the police. And he tapped into it as an American, not necessarily as a black American, but as an American, hence him wearing the American flag as a suit. So being able to tap into that cultural power. Now, cultural power can work, and in this instance we've seen it can work. Now that doesn't mean it's going to always work, but cultural power mixed with some type of institutional power. Now imagine how that is. So as black people, we know we have cultural power, or we even have cultural potential power, but it's just how do we tap into it and be able to use that type of power to better ourselves, to further ourselves. Well, we know one thing: we got to get along, we got to get together, we got to unite, and all those things there. But being able to understand about the influence of power. Let me read some more. Influence as power involves the power holder's ability to gain the subordinate subject's voluntarily acceptance of and behavioral compliance with the power holder's interpretations of reality, value, judgment, prescriptive suggestions, and commands based on the power holder's perceived status, resources, personal and social attributes, competence, expertise, or legitimate authority. When power holders as a group possess a monopoly on the possessions of influence due to the historical and other social factors, they may use their influence as a means to secure and obscure their possessions of other types of power, and at times render unnecessary the naked use of force and coercion. Does that sound like this Afroman situation? Lynn Wood Jr., how you doing? He says, it is very interesting topic you are bringing up, Joseph. So I would like to know the difference between cultural power and institutional power. Well, we're gonna get into it. I'm gonna break it down. I want to set the tone with this. So, because cultural power and institutional power, they both have influences, and it goes into this with the influence of power. So influence requires that the subject subordinates his judgment to that of the other, that he is guided by the judgment of the other. As such, influence is a more secure and hidden form of power, in that the influenced subject complies with the demands of the power holder, either without questioning the role or motives of the power holder, or after being persuaded by the power holder's apparently logical argumentation. Consequently, influence as a type of power, as a type of rational, personal, propagandistic persuasion, may serve to render the possession or exercise of other types of power unnecessary and more secure, or to obscure them altogether. Thus, influence may itself function as an exceedingly potent or subtle form of power. Now, in order to have the influence, you have to have power overall, or you have to have some kind of substance, because there are people who have influence who don't have no power. And so that's how we're looking at ourselves as black people, as Black America. We do have influence, but we do need to back that influence up with power. So Dr. Wilson's, his central argument is that powerful groups maintain dominance not just through control of resources, but through control of thinking, perception, and behavior. He emphasizes that powerless groups often fail because they misunderstand the nature of power and adopt strategies that will not lead to real control. So, institutional power versus cultural power. So let's talk about it. Let's think about it, right? So when we're talking about an institutional power, we're talking about you have, like in this case, law enforcement. You got the judicial system. You got the educational system. Like, you tapped into the systems that run the society. You influence the systems. You run the systems. You control everything, the economics, the decisions, everything about that. Now, cultural power will be more of the power that's within the people, that's not necessarily grounded in anything tangible, like the institutional power. Now, cultural power, once again, can be paired with something that's more tangible, but cultural power would be more like the influence that the people may have. So we know that, like, we call ourselves, we say Black people, we are the culture, right? But at the end of the day, what does that really mean? So we know that we can influence other people in the specific way within the arts, within athletics, within all these other realms. We can influence other groups of people. But what does that really render us? Does that really give us real progress? Does that really put us in a position of real power? So once again, institutional power is something that's grounded in things that are tangible, grounded in systems, grounded in actual institutions, grounded in things that actually run society. Cultural power can influence those things, but cultural power more so is rooted in the intangibles rather than the tangibles. So being able to look at it like that. So, you know, I always got my notes. So, my key points that I'm hitting on is power controls behavior without force. That's the first key point. The second is power shapes what people see as possible. Third key point is symbolic successes is not real power. Power requires control of resources. That's the fourth. Power protects itself. That's the fifth. Powerless groups often misunderstand power. Competition between groups is real. And powerless procedures dependency thinking. Powerlessness produces dependency thinking. Control of institutions is more important than access. Power must be built intentionally. Then I have a couple key things, and being able to move further into connecting it more between the blueprint, the Black power, and what's happening with the institutional power versus the cultural power. Because, and I even give you this point, how institutional power was used against Afroman. So that power was exercised through institutions that can control or threaten people. In this case, the state apparatus or the policing and the courts initially operated against Afroman. And so that's the institutional power, right? And so the cultural power is Afroman being able to understand, well, he didn't even really understand his influence in the beginning, but being able to use that influence that grew because of the following that he had and because of the music videos that he put out. People were able to connect with those videos. Once again, he didn't connect. Yeah, he won the battle, not the one. That see you always skipping ahead, Nemesis. You always skipping ahead. What's going on, my brother? You already know. But Afroman being able to garner all the attention that came from those music videos, and then people connecting to him on an American level, not necessarily a Black American level, because once again, he didn't approach this as a Black man. He approached this as an American, hence the American suit. So being able to use even that influence of, I am Afroman, I'm the because I got high man, and the police did this to me, and I'm telling everybody about what the police did to me, and so many people hate the police, right? So I can't let the music play because of copyright, but I do want to let this play a little bit while I do a little more of my reading, so you can have a little visual on there. You said, and better believe there was a report yesterday that police were surveying his house outside of any You already know it. You already know it because they mad. They're mad. So once again, this is Afro. The visual you'll be seeing is it's the Afroman. Will you help me repair my door? Music video, so you can kind of, if you haven't seen it, see what happened, see what the police were doing in this house. Once again, I can't play the music, so I'm gonna let this play while I do my reading, so you have a visual on the screen. So. And so this part gets into competent and legitimate authority as power. Competent authority involves the achievement and exercise of social power derived from knowledge and skill, and where behavioral compliance is obtained from the subject in return for its receipt of some benefit or service awarded by the authority. Rome defines competent authority as authority that rests solely on the subject's belief in the superior knowledge or skill of the exerciser, rather than on formal position in a recognized hierarchy of authority. He further contends that competent authority is a power relation in which the subject obeys the directives of the authority out of belief in the authority's superior competence or expertise to decide which actions will best serve the subject's interests and goals. And here we go. Afroman said, you know what? I'm not sitting down and I'm not taking this. And so that's what's so great about this is he actually fought back. Like he actually fought back. Once again, in the beginning, he didn't recognize what power he had or what influence he already knew he was Afroman had influence, but it didn't register to him. Because once again, I read to you, he said, and I quote, and this from an NPR article, he said, I asked myself as a powerless black man in America, what can I do to the cops that kicked in my door, tried to kill me in front of my kids, stole my money and disconnected my cameras, and I'm gonna add they stole this pound cake. Right. So yeah, it is genius. It is great what he did. It is great. So competent authority or expertise may critically be used as a mask for social privilege and power exercised by one group over another. It hides social privilege and power because it appears to mercilessly exist to advance the public interest. Moreover, the competent authority or expertise, particularly if it is held in high social esteem and is well organized, may use its claims to superior knowledge and skill and the operating in the public interest to legitimate the rule of the powers that be. The legitimacy of their rule under other circumstances may be questionable or denied. Hence, competent authority, if monopolized by one social group, may serve to facilitate that group's social power over a dependent, less competent subordinate group. In such an instance, the latter group may be relatively unaware to the extent of the degree to which it is dominated by the former. Even if it is aware, it remains relatively powerless to the degree to which it lacks or does not exercise expert knowledge. They're exercising their power. They took the turn. Anytime they can exercise their power. This is one of the things that help disconnect with the American people. You know how many American people, period, have been done wrong by the cops or have heard so many stories about people being done wrong by the cops, and then you can actually see it happening. And then he was able to make a spectacle out of it. He was able to make fun of it and talking about Lick 'em Low Lisa and the fat dude who because if you see the video of like the other fat white cop who he had a gun in his hand and that pound cake caught his attention real hard. But the fact that they used the power and authority and the influence that they had to do this to this man, to basically terrorize this man's home, terrorize this man's property, terrorize this man's life. And then they thought they could get away with it. And then when Afroman shot back, the only way he could, they decided to sue him. They decided to suppress his voice. They wanted to use more of the institutional power that they had to suppress his voice. When you understand how power works, you could better fight back. Now, once again, like Nemesis already said in the comments, He won the battle, not the war. But black people, if we start to be more competent in how we operate and how we move forward in what we do, we can win a lot more battles. All right, so let's get to this first key point. His first key point is power controls behavior without force. So Wilson explains that the most effective form of power is not physical force, but psychological control. When the dominant group defines reality successfully, others will behave in ways that support that system, accept limitations without resistance, and internalize rules as natural. This means control can be maintained without constant violence. People may participate in their own subordination. That's so good about this. Think the second bullet point, it says, accept limitations without resistance. Well, Afroman didn't do that. He didn't accept the limitations without resistance. And that's one of the main things. That's one of the greatest things about this is if he would have helped to reinforce their control even more, but he challenged the system. You got to be able to challenge the system, right? Because a lot of us talk about, I'm gonna run it back. I ain't got my loop thing, but a lot of us talk about challenging the system, but a lot of people don't really challenge the system. Afroman challenged the system, right? But if you are not challenging the system, if you have internalized the rules as natural, this means that control can be maintained without constant violence. That means people may participate in their own subordination. What's going on, Kiki? How you doing? Think about that. But that's what we are doing. So many of us are already participating in our own subordination. Because the goal, that's why I keep talking about the programming a lot. That's why I'm always talking about the mindset, the programming, everything that they've done to us on a mental level. So let me get to this point. Okay, so this says European Americans monopolize the positions of competent authority in addition to monopolizing the means of certifying, legitimating, and delegating such authority. They, through racial discrimination against blacks, monopolize the means of gaining access to competent authority. They make use of these monopolies not only to command the obedience of subordinate African Americans, but to justify the legitimacy of their predominant power over them. Because they can. Because we are less than, because we need to be subordinated, because we need to be put in check. We need to be kept in check because, we less than human, right? Moreover, they will utilize their monopoly and competent authority to both obscure from the legitimate, let me read that over. Moreover, they utilize their monopoly and competent authority to both obscure from and legitimate their social power, exploitative, oppressive nature, and intent upon Black Americans. The legitimacy of competent and other forms of white authority to which African Americans voluntarily submit or freely give their consent are but special cases of the overall legitimacy of white power. They have been conditioned, seduced, and otherwise compelled to accept and believe as morally justified, right? Because that's the norm. That's the norm for us to fall in line. Like a lot of people keep telling black folk, fall in line. Like just get in line and fall in line and do what you were told. Be an automaton. Be a mindless drone. That's how white supremacy continues to exist, right? Find your comfortable place within the system of white supremacy. Remember, be individualistic. Get yours. Only think about yourself. Only do you. Because that's how group power is built, right? You build group power by working as an individual. Well, that's what a lot of people will try to get us to believe, right? So let me read this. There you go. There you go, Nemesis. There you go. Let me read this. Legitimate authority creates far greater reliability of anticipated reactions than other forms of authority, just as internalized social norms ensure more reliable conformity than norms, the observance of which is more dependent on situational sanctions or ad hoc negotiations over the meaning and applicability. Legitimate authority is more efficient than coercive or induced authority in that it minimizes the need for maintaining means of coercion and consistent readiness, continual surveillance of the power subjects, and regular supplies of economic or non-economic rewards. For these reasons, naked, that is, coercive, power always seeks to clothe itself in the garments of legitimacy. Or as Franz Newman puts it even more strongly, those who wield political power are compelled to create emotional and rational responses in those whom they rule, inducing them to accept implicitly or explicitly the commands of their rulers. I'm gonna read that again. Those who wield political power are compelled to create emotional and rational responses in those whom they rule, inducing them to accept implicitly or explicitly the commands of the rulers. So if you're going against the system, then you know they got to try to punish you if you're going against the system. Hence the lawsuit that they put out against Afroman. So let me get to the second key point. As soon as this thing scroll out. Come on, computer. All right. So power shapes what people see as possible. Dr. Wilson emphasizes that power determines what people believe they can achieve, what people think is realistic, and what they aspire to. That's what power does. A powerless group may limit its own ambitions, avoid pursuing control, and settle for symbolic gains instead of real power. This creates self-limiting behavior rooted in perception. So this is what be happening when we accept the narratives, when we accept the stories, when we believe the lies. That's why I'm always pushing back against false narratives on this channel. And I'm gonna continue to push back against false narratives on this channel. And we have to always push back against false narratives on this channel or anywhere else, because those help further the conditioning. One of the things is let's talk about how power works, right? And the influence of power. So I saw a video the other day, and the guy was correct. We have a whole generation, maybe 2 generations of Black people who don't really know real Black history. The Black history they know, they learned on social media. So they don't really know Black history. Also, we have generations who don't know history at all. And the little bit that they do, they learn from social media. Because we already know the schools not teaching them. We already know they're not learning them at home. They're not learning Black history at home. Parents not teaching it. They're not teaching it in the schools. So they go to social media to learn Black history. I'm being kind. I'm thinking about the social media generations. I'm thinking about the generations who grew up on social media and learning Black history on social media. Now, there are other generations definitely affected by it, but I'm honing in on those generations that were raised by social media, and they haven't been exposed to any other type of real Black history other than what they've seen on social media. So these are the people who really believe, like, some of the things they've seen, like Harriet Tubman may not exist, and all the other crazy things about our heroes. No, we did our Friday breakdown. What's going on, Will? How you doing, my brother? Appreciate you being here, man. Like, we did our breakdown the other day about shooting back at the narratives against Dr. Martin Luther King, you know. So when you can control the narratives, when you can control the institutions, when you can control the media, when you can control everything, like Dr. Wilson is talking about, having that monopoly on control, having that monopoly on power, having that monopoly on resources, having that monopoly on influence. Now, in this case, they did not have a monopoly on influence. They did not have a monopoly on cultural power. Afroman was able to tap into a resource that won him the battle. He said, no disrespect, but there are many of us that have parents who born in some of the ish and they don't know history either. Yeah, no, you're right. You are totally correct. Like, Black people, the majority of Black people don't know Black history at all. The majority of Black people do not know Black history at all. I tell people all the time, you know, I went to an HBCU, I went to FAMU, and it's a small percentage of people who come from these HBCUs who actually learn Black history. Now, you're right. So overall, most Black people don't know Black history, but you know, I was thinking about those generations who grew up with social media, because you know, like my generation, like I'm 42 now, so I remember social media didn't explode till I got out of college. Really, social media didn't explode till I was out of college. So, you know, I learned a lot of history from reading books and stuff like that. And then you got this whole generation who they can't even read. But of course, you know, the previous generations couldn't read that well either. So. But yeah. So let me continue my reading. This is page 18 in Blueprint for Black Power, this last paragraph at the bottom. It said, Malcolm X spoke on the power of the media. You already know it. But hey, that's why being able to have independent media, because I'm glad you said that, Will. That's a great comment. I'm glad you said that, because Afroman was able to tap in the power of the free media, the power of the new media. He was able to tap into that and connect with the American people on a level that a lot of people can't. Hey, we all hate the police, don't we? Look at what the police did to my house. Look at this big dude trying to get my lemon pound cake. And then it was so funny and so hilarious with it that it just caught more and more people's attention. Now, Dr. Wilson is saying, to a significant degree, African Americans accept and obey predominant white American power and its authorities, at least from a social psychological standpoint, because they agree with the rules of their establishment and expressions as defined by white Americans. They share with white Americans the moral, legal, and other values and perspectives which justify them, and to some extent limited and of recent origin, because they, i.e. Blacks, have been permitted by white Americans to participate in political and social processes by which white power is given legitimacy. To a limited degree, African Americans have been permitted access to certain positions of competent and legitimate authority. These factors contribute mightily to the acceptance of white American power or domination and the white American monopoly of positions of authority as legitimate. These forms of giving consent to the social power status quo and the part of Blacks help to obscure as well as deny the fact that they are in fact a dominated and severely exploited group, and helps to obscure the fact that their uncritical acceptance of the rules, moral beliefs, perspectives, and their customary traditional participation in the American political economic process and system is tantamount to the legitimation of their own oppression and the consensual assurance of their own powerlessness. It ain't changed a bit. The world ain't changed a bit, right? So let's get to another one of these key points. Symbolic success is not real power. And this victory for Afroman, though we like it and we gonna squeeze as much juice out of that, it's not real power. So symbolic success is not real power. Wilson warns against confusing individual achievement with group power. Examples of symbolic success is individual wealth, celebrity status, isolated political representation, or even this Afroman trial. These do not equal group control over institutions, resources, or decision-making systems. A group can celebrate individual success while remaining structurally powerless. Read that again. A group can celebrate individual success while remaining structurally powerless. So we could be happy for it, but understand, because it's same thing like the brawl in Alabama on that pier and on that river in Alabama, and everybody was trying to act like black people that came up in the world, like we became powerful, and same old still happening. White supremacy still running regular business as usual, right? Power requires control of resources. Wilson stresses that real power depends on control of land, business, capital, and institutions. Without control of resources, a group cannot sustain itself independently. Progress remains dependent on others. Gains can be easily reversed. Economic control is a foundation of power, not a side issue. If you don't control resources, if you don't control land, business, capital, and institutions, you ain't talking about nothing. Remember that. Afroman is an entertainer. Yes, he's dipping in the snow, but he made a real, cultural power. He used cultural power to get the victory that he needed for himself. And I ain't mad at him. I am not mad at him at all. That's why I want us to understand what he did, how he tapped into it. A lot of people know and understand, but I just want to make sure I hammer it home. Cultural power. He used his influence that he had. He used people's hatred for the police. He used people's experience, people's pain, people's past, people's trauma. All those things came up to be able to help him, and he presented himself as an American citizen who was wronged by the police. Yep, they real mad he won. Real statement, my ass. He got a dub on the board. Yay. I'm glad dude didn't get unalive, but recognize it's not us who gave justice. Yeah. It's still a systematic thing that we don't control. So they mad he won. Yeah. If you don't control the paradigm, then there is no win in this context. He didn't win. He simply avoided a loss. Hey, and he got what he got. So let's look at this part of it, this part of the chapter. Let's talk about manipulation as power. Manipulation involves the attempt by the manipulator to elicit certain desired responses from his subject while concealing his efforts to do so. In this way, the manipulator seeks to constrain, restrict, or prevent certain undesirable actions on the part of his subject, and or to subtly direct his actions, subtly direct his subject to behave in certain desired ways outside the subject's knowledge and awareness. Basically, how they've programmed us to operate, how they've programmed us to be docile, how they program us to go along with the system, how they've programmed us to not fight back. Most people don't fight back like this. And if most people do fight back, they don't have the influence that Afroman has. Now, the average man wouldn't have got this. I don't believe the average black man would have came out with this decision. But because Afroman was who he was and he had the influence that he had, he was able to get that using the cultural power. So manipulation involves a more efficient exercise of power than force, coercion, and influence because it is less likely to evoke resistance since the subject is unaware of the effort to influence him or may think that the manipulator is exercising his influence to achieve an end desired by both the manipulator and the subject himself. When in actuality, the subject is being influenced toward an end which may be determined to himself and beneficial only to his manipulator. Thus, the manipulated subject may be led to perceive his own responses and behavior as expressions of his own free will and choice. Commonly, manipulation is achieved by skillfully presenting information, rewards, and deprivations in ways which shape the consciousness and behavior of the subject and motivates him to freely choose to act in ways compatible with the concealed intentions of the manipulator. And that goes to a lot of the behavior that we exhibit out here as Black people. A lot of the behavior that we exhibit, it's already been shaped. It's already been expected. They've already studied us. They know us. We're the ones that don't know us or them, right? He also says, wrong notes two important general forms where manipulation may occur. And this is from Wrong, for it's my last name, Wrong. So first, the power holder may exercise concealed control over the power subject through symbolic communications designed to make veiled suggestions to limit or determine selectively the power subject's information supply or to inculcate without appearing to do so certain positive or negative attitudes. But an equally widespread kind of manipulation occurs where A alters B environment in such a way as to evoke a desired response from B without interacting directly with B at all. I got you so manipulated. I got you so programmed. You have no idea what's going on. You have no idea what's going on. We have no idea what we be doing out here. We just be doing stuff to our detriment. Dr. Wilson goes on further to say, Wrong further notes that manipulation may involve the most dehumanized and, as far as we know, concerned perhaps the most dehumanizing exercise of power of all, because unlike the excuses of obstructive physical force, visible, coercive, and authoritarian power were the intent of his adversaries, and the sources of assault and frustration are known to the subject. Manipulation is a form of power that cannot be openly resisted by the power subject, since he is unaware of the power holder's intent or even sometimes of his existence. There is no visible command for him to disobey, no identifiable adversary against whom to assert his freedom. Right? So let's get to another key point real quick. Power protects itself. Hence them fighting back. Hence the lawsuits. Hence everything else that's going to come at Afroman. It's not over. It's definitely not over. So Dr. Wilson explains that the groups with power actively work to maintain their dominance. That's always first and foremost, to maintain dominance, to protect their interests, protect their image, protect their name, and prevent others from gaining equal power. So we have to pay attention to what other stuff that may be happening to Afroman down the road, because once again, they actively work to maintain their dominance. They actively work to protect their interest. They actively work to prevent others from gaining equal power. This protection occurs through laws and the enforcement or non-enforcement of laws, policies, economic barriers, and institutional practices. Power is not passive. It is defended and reinforced continuously. Power is not passive. It is defended and reinforced continuously. All right? It's never over. So getting to coming to the end of this chapter. All the forms of power we have discussed, as well as those not discussed here, when used by whites to maintain their power over blacks, add up to one overarching social power relation between whites and blacks, white domination and black subordination. What's going on, Uptight? How you doing? Yes, hey, look, we better understand what power really is. That's why I wanted to connect this book to this, so we can make sure we have a full understanding of what power is. Because with this first chapter in this book, great book, Blueprint for Black Power. If you don't have it, get your copy. Got to read it, right? First chapter. I don't know what I press. First chapter is what is power, and that's what we're learning. What power truly is and how power truly works. Since all the forms of power we have discussed, as well as those not discussed here when used by whites to maintain their power over blacks, add up to one overarching social power relation between whites and blacks, white domination and black subordination. Social domination occurs when the power of one person or group over another is exercised in a systematic manner, and that expense of the dominated group or person. Warnerberg uses the term domination to refer to the power to one social agent, the power that one social agent has over another in situations in which that power is exercised by the dominating social agent repeatedly, systematically, and to the detriment of the dominated agent. The concepts of domination therefore refers to the specific manner of exercising power. Such an exercise of power must be one that conditions the relationship between two agents in a long-standing manner. Domination refers not to a single exercise of power, but to a relationship between two social agents that is constituted by the existence of a power differential between them. Understanding what they do, understand why they do, to maintain dominance. Maintain dominance. Hey, I hear you, Will. But that's the part of controlling the narrative. That's how you maintain your dominance, controlling the narrative. Have a monopoly on what people think and how they think. You have a monopoly on how people think. Oh, Afroman decided to think outside the box and go challenge the system. But once again, cultural power without the backing of true institutional power will get victories, but it will never win the war. The power relationship between blacks and whites is an interactive one where white power to a significant extent arises out of certain types of social interactions between whites and blacks, where blacks unwittingly play a very important role in constituting and sustaining their powerlessness relative to whites. White domination of blacks in our current social context is primarily facilitated by the fact that blacks think of themselves and of reality in terms created by the self-serving interests and perspectives imposed on them by whites, and act on the basis of biased and false information provoked them by whites without realizing it. They therefore contribute to their powerlessness and domination by whites simply by thinking about themselves and reality in a manner that allows them to be subjugated. Thus, white domination of blacks is to a significant degree covered over by ideology, beliefs which blacks have been conditioned by whites to unwittingly accept. To this degree, their domination and powerlessness is self-imposed. White domination, I'm going to read that part again. White domination of blacks is to a significant degree covered over by ideology, beliefs, which blacks have been conditioned by whites to unwittingly accept. To this degree, their domination and powerlessness is self-imposed. How you doing, Elizabeth? How you doing? Blacks obscure their unnecessary domination by whites and contribute to their domination by their own gullibility and too ready acceptance of Eurocentric ideology and their ubiquitous willingness to think and act only within the confines of white-generated ideas, social definitions, relations, and ethics, and not often honored by whites themselves. Hence, the minds of blacks are used to force the links of their own mental change. Now, just made me think, as I'm reading this, it just made me think about another thing. Remember, go back to the first video. Let's go back to the first video. And let's listen to what Afroman says in the beginning of this first video. Listen to what Afroman is saying.
One of the officers, he came up and apologized to me yesterday, and he was telling me how he's a Christian and, you know, this, that, and the other. And I told him that, you know, I told him that everything was all right. I love him and everything. But I told him when he kicked down my door and when he told me he wasn't going to help me put it back up, I said, you wasn't a Christian right there.
See, but he's talking about he got love for these folks. They don't even through this situation, even Afroman really, well, we already know he don't know what's going on, but he's trying to show love to his enemy, who just reinforced that they are the enemy. And he's like, I still love you. I love you. Listen to what he's saying.
And I told him, when you flipped off my cameras, you wasn't a Christian right there. So I told him that even though I don't hate him and I forgive him, I told him I'm still going to sing that song. If I see him in Walmart, I'm not going to stare him down mean. I don't want to fight him. I ain't even mad at him.
You already know it.
But I'm going to sing that song. If a man kills a man, he can apologize to the family.
Because, you know, and being real with this is more so like, his fan base is mostly white folk. But understanding, like, it's being cemented that this is like if black people were a football team and we were in a game, we was in the football game, we're down 77-0 in the fourth quarter with 3 minutes to go. And this Afroman trial win is a first down. And we're celebrating a first down, even though we're down 77-0 with 3 minutes to go in the fourth quarter. We have the nerve to first down, but you're losing 77-0 with 3 minutes to go in the fourth quarter because it's almost over for us. So let me read this part and then we're going to transition to the second half of the show. Psychic violence makes the victimized individual or group vulnerable to the soft yet untimely, more treacherous and effective forms of social domination, social coercion, influence, manipulation, allegedly legitimate and contempt authority, and ideological hypnosis. Nothing less than the healing of the wounds occasioned by white ingested psychic assaults against the collective African mind, body, and spirit can enable African people to regain their liberation. A deep and fundamental transformation of the subordinated African psyche via the steadfast acquisition of an African-centered consciousness and identity will provide the social, psychological, and if need be, military power tools for breaking through and imprisoning walls of white supremacy. However, in this liberating African-centered consciousness and identity must be included an indomitable will to African power. This will must be informed by a profound knowledge of the means of acquiring and of exercising of power, as well as a strategic and tactical knowledge of the enemy's power. To an examination of these factors, we will now turn. So that is chapter 1. So chapter 1 goes from page 5 to page 26, Blueprint to Black Power by Dr. Amos Wilson, a moral, political, and economic imperative for the 21st century. If you don't have your copy, get your copy. You know the link is in the description for you to get your copy. All right, so before I get to the second half with Afroman, let me finish up some of these notes. So powerless groups often misunderstand power. So Dr. Wilson argues that powerless groups often focus on moral appeals instead of strategy, what we're doing right now. Seek acceptance instead of control, what we're doing right now. What Afroman is basically getting out of this overall thing with the love of the people, right? Acceptance instead of control. And misunderstand the competitive nature of group relations. That's why we said it's not over. You got the first down, but we don't like that. And we're going to make sure you are punished for that. This leads to ineffective approaches such as relying on goodwill from dominant groups, prioritizing integration without power, and celebrating visibly without control. Competition between groups is real. Dr. Wilson emphasizes that society is not purely cooperative. It is also competitive between groups. And we're learning that even about groups of African people. Black American people, we're learning that about certain sectors of groups of African people who see us as competition. I'm not saying the whole of these groups, but certain sectors of these groups see us as competitions. Groups compete for resources, influence, dominance, and institutions. Groups that understand this reality organize to win. Groups that ignore it remain vulnerable. Powerlessness produces dependency thinking. When the group lacks power, its members may develop a mindset of dependency, reliance on external systems, and seeking approval rather than control. Because we love white approval. We love white approval. Control nothing but love white approval. This mindset becomes self-reinforcing. Dependency leads to limited action. Limited action maintains powerlessness. Breaking this cycle requires a shift in our thinking. Control of institutions is more important than access. I think we forget that a lot. Control of institutions is more important than access. Wilson explains that gaining access to institutions is not the same as controlling them. For example, attending schools is not the same as controlling education. Working in corporations is not the same as owning businesses. Voting is not the same as controlling political systems. True power comes from ownership, leadership, and decision-making authority. Power must be built intentionally. Remember, power does not happen by accident. It requires long-term planning, strategic organization, group unity, disciplined effort. Without intentional effort, power will remain concentrated in the hands of those who already possess it. Remember that. If you don't control the systems that shape your life, then your success will always depend on someone else's power. All right, remember that. So getting ready to transition to this next video, but let me, Elizabeth, are you saying billionaires don't have power? Black billionaires. I would first go out on a limb. Black billionaires don't have real power. Black billionaires they have access, but not control. And that's the thing that Dr. Wilson is getting at, is being able to control the whole system, which means, like, now white billionaires, depending on the white billionaires, depending on the person who their position and all these things there, may or may not have power. Black billionaires, no, they don't have no power because they only have access. They have billionaire access to the white systems, the white controlled systems. Yeah, and like he's saying, Jay-Z, Rihanna, Oprah, all the black billionaires that we know are all still. We're a lot more free than they are. We're way more free than they are. Power is a chess game. It's a long game. And that's why I keep asking, the question that I be asking is, how many of us are willing to fight to build a future that you're not going to live to see? Because we're talking about real power. Real power. And we're trying to learn that through the Blueprint for Black Power. Make sure you get your copy. Say, do we have to compete? Why can't people be raised to work together opposed to competing? It seems competition is the European way of thinking. Well, it's not the European way of thinking. Competition is the human way of thinking. Black people, we've been lied to a lot. We've been lied to a lot as Black people. We've been lied to a lot. Because think about it like this, right? How did empires and kingdoms in Africa become what they were without competition? One kingdom or one empire expanded by competing with others and being able to be better than others and being able to overtake them and incorporate them within their kingdom and empire and then continue to go. Competition is nature. Competition is natural. It's a part of nature. If you really look at nature, nature is all about competition. Only the strong survives. It's not necessarily a European concept. It's a realistic concept that's attached to how nature operates. You said if resources are scarce, why are we competing? Because whoever has the most resources have the most power and control. And then you will make the others come to you for the resources, which give you more power and control. It says American hero Afroman wins for freedom of speech 20 years ago. Today I met and became friends with Fro 30 plus years later. Gotcha. If you don't compete, you don't eat. It's like one of those Riddick movies, the Necromongers. You eat what you kill, you keep what you kill. If you don't compete, you don't eat. This world ain't nice. You're gonna have, if you want the world to be nice, you're gonna have to compete to make it nice. If you don't compete to make it nice, it ain't gonna be nice. So move this out my way. Let me go ahead and this is Afroman testifies in Ohio trial in Adams County. So we're going to look at a little bit of this trial and then, put a little stank on it, put a little thought behind it, and bring the relevance even more to it. So let me go ahead and run this. Please hit that like button if you haven't already. Please hit that like button.
Do you solemnly swear the testimony you're about to give shall be the truth, the whole truth, nothing but the truth? As this, you shall answer unto God.
Yes.
Thank you, sir. Have a seat.
Thank you, Your Honor. For the record, would you give us your name, please?
My name is Joseph Edgar Foreman.
You are known under the stage name as Afroman, is that correct?
Yes, sir.
And you create music videos and do performances, is
Yes,
that
sir.
right? How many states of the United States have you performed in, do you think?
All of them.
All 50.
Yes, sir.
And how many countries have you performed in?
I don't remember, but not all of them, but I've been to a few.
How many live performances did you do last year, roughly?
I don't know. Possibly 250. I don't know, but I don't know.
His attorney was on point.
I don't know exactly.
Yeah, and
His attorney
you have a
was on
residence here
point.
in Adams County, correct?
Yes, sir.
CMP, you think this will cause them to think twice before issuing? You believe that? And the only reason I'm asking that is because, police departments have been sued before for things like this, and they just continue to do stuff like this. So that's what I'm saying. Like, it may make them think twice, but do you think it would stop it or slow it down? It may or may not, because were the officers themselves sued, or the police departments? I got to look more into that specific information. But I'm just wondering, will it really slow them down? Because I just know like these bad warrants and kick those and stuff continue to happen. So
you've been performing for 20 or 30 years, is that right?
All my life.
All right.
What if instead of designing thumbnails, you could just paste your YouTube link into our AI and it would create scroll stopping?
And is it fair to say that one of the first big hits you had was, but then I got high?
Because I got high.
Because I got high? And do you think it's accurate to say that that song has had over 300 million views on YouTube?
Sounds right.
You have a large presence on social media, obviously, correct?
Depends on your definition of large. There's bigger people than me, but I'm all right.
And on Instagram, is it fair to say that you have 247,000 followers?
Yeah, I just got some of them the other day.
You got new ones coming all the time?
Yes, not all the time, just here lately.
Because the trial's coming up?
Yeah, all the publicity from the officers lawsuing me is running up my numbers.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And on YouTube, you have almost 1 million followers, 983,000. Is that right?
I haven't looked. It was
please hit that like
977
button.
last
Please
time
hit
I
that
looked.
like button.
And on TikTok, you have about 392,000 followers.
I haven't looked at it, but that sounds kind of right.
You know when you post something that a lot of people are going to see it, don't you?
Yes.
And Elizabeth, I do agree that we do have a different worldview. We do have a different worldview than them. But I will, from what I know about African history and African people's relation with other groups of people and even nature is, maybe more of a cohesive relationship with nature, but not necessarily a more cohesive relationship with the white man. Because one of these things is we don't have to become savages like white men to be competitive and to understand competition and to understand how to crush certain competition who need to be crushed. We don't have to become them, but we need to understand the nature of our enemy and treat them the way they behave and not treat them the way that we behave. And one of the things that have been our downfall is we treat white people the way we want to behave instead of treating them the way that they are. And we try to use the moral lane to get white people to change. And they don't see the world like that. They don't operate like that. And so we have to be competitive. We have to learn how to crush our enemies when need be.
When this search happened back in August of 2022, Mr. Foreman, you weren't at home?
No.
You were driving home from Chicago?
Yes.
And you got an alert from a family member that the sheriffs were there searching your home, is that right?
Yes.
And you were able to turn on your phone and watch through your home security system what the deputies were doing for a period of time, weren't you?
Yes.
Blue frogs.
And is it fair to say you were angry and upset about this search?
I wasn't happy.
Well, why would he be happy?
And is that why you posted the things we've seen this week, because you weren't happy?
No, I posted it because the sheriff's never supposed to raid my house in the first place. The whole raid was a mistake. All of this is their fault. If they hadn't wrongly raided my house, there would be no lawsuit. I would not know their names, They wouldn't be on my body. They wouldn't be on my home surveillance system. And there would be no songs, nothing. My money would still be intact, nothing. So all of this is their fault.
So I wonder what originally prompted the raid. So that's what I wonder, like, because I know they said that with some kidnapping and some harboring some children and stuff like that. So let me read this. It says Afroman was just trying to turn lemons into lemon pound cake when he started making music videos on social media posts mocking the law enforcement efforts who conducted a heavy-handed raid in this Ohio home. Home surveillance video of the August 2002 raid shows half a dozen gun-wielding law enforcement officers from the Adams County Sheriff's Office deputies kicking down his door, combing through his CD collection, going through his suit pockets, flipping through a wad of cash, and in one case, briefly getting distracted by a cake dish on the counter. The search on suspicion of drug trafficking and kidnapping. Okay. The search on suspicion of drug trafficking and kidnapping did not yield any evidence or charges against the rapper, whose legal name is Joseph Foreman. Shout out to the Josephs. But he says officers broke his gate and security surveillance, wiring, took $400 in cash, and frightened his family. He wasn't home at the time, but his wife and kids, then 10 and 12-year-old, were present. So the rapper best known for his early, oh, no, I don't need to read that, but yeah, so somebody made up some stuff on Afroman. But once again, how institutional power was used against Afroman. So connecting this back to Dr. Wilson, right? There was a police, had to be. Power is exercised through institutions that can control or threaten people. Power is exercised through institutions that can control and threaten people. In this case, the state apparatus, which is the policing and the courts, initially operated against Afroman. Once again, in 2022, sheriff deputies in Adams County, Ohio, raided Afroman's home with a warrant tied to suspicion of drug trafficking, and kidnapping. Nothing was found. So this is a key concept. Institutions can deploy power even when wrongdoing is never proven. When you control institutions, when you have institutional power versus cultural power, you can deploy power even when wrongdoing is never proven. The raid itself involved armed officers entering the home, property damage, seizure of money and property. This shows control through force and authority. The legal system was used as a tool of pressure. After Afroman mocked the raid in music videos, 7 deputies sued him for defamation, invasion of privacy, emotional distress. They demanded $3.9 million in damages. That's what they were suing him for, $3.9 million, rounded up to $4 million. This type of lawsuit can function as a strategic legal pressure tactic, forcing someone to defend themselves financially and legally. So this fits our whole show, because it's the idea that powerful groups protect themselves by using law, institutions, and economic pressure to suppress criticism. Now, the deputies argued the videos caused them humiliation, public ridicule, and reputational damage. And that's because of a bit of narrative control that Afroman had. So power also fights to control the narrative about itself. If criticism spreads, institutions often try to silence or punish the critic. Powerless groups can challenge power when they use their own resources strategically. And Afroman did use the resources that he had strategically. Blue Sock says, I love how we produce these eccentric brothers like the rent is too damn high, brother, that look like Cologne, that look like Colonel Sanders. He then celebrates and said suit after the win, which has to hurt. You're right. It's digging in. We have never received real justice in this country because they think they're better than us, and that's the lie. Some black folks feel they're better too. Hey, and that's the part of the conditioning. But that's the thing, though. It's supposed to be a lie. We're not supposed to know that it's a lie, though. And we're supposed to help push the lie forward. So let's let them keep talking.
And because they executed a search warrant on your home, that gave you the right to post the things that we've seen this week on the internet?
Because
is that right? Is that right, Mr. Foreman?
Yes, for
yes.
Tearing down my door, not paying for it, not being apologetic, me being a sport, doing something peaceful to raise the money to pay for their damages, me having the right of the freedom of speech as an American to talk to my family, friends, and fans about what the sheriffs did to my home. Yes, I had the right to my freedom of speech. After they left, I had the right to kick the can and to do what I had to do to repair the damage they brought
resources
to my
he had.
Yes, I did.
That includes the right to post the videos that you've just been posting up until Friday and beyond, right?
Yes, I have freedom of speech. I'm a rapper. I entertain. I write fiction, comedy. Yes, I mean, I entertain for a living like you practice law for a living. So I have to go to work.
See, Blue Sox, that's what we're trying to figure out. See, Blue Sox, we got to do a little more digging to figure out, because those were some serious charges that they had them on. Drug trafficking and kidnapping. The suspicion of drug trafficking and kidnapping. And then they raided his home. So I don't know. We got a lot of digging to do. I appreciate you, Will. I appreciate you, my brother.
The deputies left a warrant return at your house, didn't they?
I remember his wife.
I think they left something home. My ex-wife. I'm not sure.
Well, you saw, as soon as the search was over, as soon as you got home, you saw a document that showed exactly how much cash had been taken from the house, correct?
I know I got paid $5,000 for the show that suit was in. I forgot that money was in that suit. But I heard, I don't know what piece of paper I heard. I knew they took some money. I just knew they.
Big shout out to Blue Sox. Yeah, my mom's people is from Gainesville, Florida, East Side High, Sugar Hill over there. That's my people from the Booths, the Dickersons, the Booths. Those are my people from Gainesville, Florida, over there on the East Side, Sugar Hill, from the projects over there. So yes, sir. And I appreciate the $10 super chat. I appreciate it. Always appreciate the support. Thank you very much.
Look at all this money, homie. I got all this money, homie.
Something they had to have something. They had to have something to raid this man's house. Then didn't find nothing. This was a warning about something. He did something that made these folk mad. We just ain't found out yet.
They took some money. I knew it was 4,000-ish. I knew they took some money and they seized some money and some weed and some I don't know what else. Just minor stuff.
You knew how much money was in that pocket when you came home and saw the warrant return, didn't you?
Check that out, Will.
It was $5,000 from back when I did that show. I remember it was $5,000. But anyway.
So is it your testimony that they actually took $5,000 instead of $4,390?
No, I just know. I know when I did that show, it was with Snoop Dogg and Wiz Khalifa at Red Rocks in Denver. The balance of that show for me, they sent in a deposit, but the balance was $5,000. I put the $5,000 in my coat pocket. I got drunk, I got high, and I forgot to get that money, and I hung that suit back up, and that's where they got that money from.
So it was $5,000 they got?
Yes, it was $5,000 that was in my suit when I got paid in Red Rocks. Now, after all of this stuff, whatever, it's I don't really know the complete number. It's 46, it's 430, the number bounces up and down. But all I know is
Dub, you saying the search was prompted from a confidential informant. Okay, gotta look into that.
I got paid $5,000 at the Red Rocks with Snoop Dogg and Wiz Khalifa when I played the Red Rocks in Denver.
And you got $4,000 returned, right?
I don't know the exact amount.
Well, you were there with the news when you got it.
Right, and the lady at the sheriff's station admitted that the sheriff was short. You can go watch the 19 News.
You knew when you saw the warrant return, didn't you, that the amount that they were saying was taken was actually more money than was in that suit pocket.
I didn't warrant.
That's why you brought the news to the sheriff's office when you got the money back, because you knew that they had miscounted the money and the number on the evidence bag was actually
I didn't know
money.
nothing. The lady at the sheriff department just volunteered the information. I was sitting there, if she had been, I might not even known I got ripped off. She admitted it live on Channel 19 News that the money wasn't right.
You remember in your deposition when I asked you, why did you bring the news when you picked up the money?
Yeah, I didn't want to get beat up or Epstein at the sheriff's station after I seen him running around my house with AR-15s. So that's why I brought the news and my attorney. So to make sure I got out of that place with my money.
You brought the news to protect you physically.
Yeah.
You didn't bring the news because you already knew there was a miscount and you were going to make.
I didn't know nothing about the discount. I didn't know. I figured they stole my money. They turned my cameras off. So if you turn my cameras off, you must got something bad in mind.
Exactly.
So, yeah, I'm accusing them of it. They turn my cameras off. I can't see what they're doing.
So your testimony under oath here today to these 10 jurors is that you brought the news when you picked up your money to protect you physically from being beat up or shot by the sheriffs, right?
Yes. And they volunteered the information.
Some white woman made the call.
The money wasn't right. That's just an extra something we found out.
Well,
but I came with my
that's about white
and the news to make sure the people running around my house with guns didn't.
So a white woman making the call. That's about white. That's about white. I don't
take me into jail.
I'm not sure.
Something.
All you do is click the button. Boom, it's going to generate a chord progression. Let's listen to some of these.
You had a safe in your home, correct?
I mean, why not expose what's happening? Why not use whatever weapons and whatever resources you have at your disposal? So with that being said, Afroman used his music and social media platform to turn the raid into a viral story. Lemon pound cake, will you help repair my door? That's how we learned what the other dude, Randy Wilson, is a creep. Lick 'em Low Lisa. We learned about all them people there that he was making diss songs about. The will you help me repair my door? The lemon pound cake. That is another one I saw. I was watching. Oh, Randy Walters is a son of a bitch. That song too. So all those songs. Use your resources. So like we've already known, we already saw, with the music videos using actual footage of the raid. Think about how that connected with the American people. Cultural power, cultural influence. Millions of views for these videos, and they were hilarious. And you know how many people continuously watching them? Man, I be watching those videos, and I go back and I'm still gonna watch it, and I'm gonna watch even more because I wanted to do this show, and then I'm gonna go back and watch all the other content on it. I just didn't want my opinion to be swayed by anybody else's thoughts. But Afroman is a wild boy. I'm not mad at him. But I do want us to understand the larger picture. This is if we are in the football game, we are the team who's losing 77-0 with 3 minutes to go in the first quarter. And this Afroman victory is a first down. And we're celebrating first down, but we're down 77-0, 3 minutes to go in the fourth quarter. Now, understand we humans and we're gonna do what we do. But as long as we understand the bigger picture, I'm gonna laugh too. But as long as we understand the bigger picture as well, right? I'm not saying don't have fun. I'm not saying don't laugh, because I'm gonna go back and watch more videos after I get off of this. But understand the bigger picture. So Afroman was able to create a counter narrative. That counter narrative had influence. And that influence gave him the bit of power that he needed. Or take away the word power, gave him the influence that he needed to be able to get the victory. And put it out in front of everybody. Randy Walters is the son of a bitch. He said something about hunching the man's wife and somebody paying for it or something like that. It was funny. Like the music video, like the video when the fat white dude was walking past the lemon pound cake, and then that lemon pound cake caught his attention, and then he got a whole loaded pistol in his hand, and it was almost like a cartoon. You know, like when you're watching a cartoon and they walk by something that they like, and the smell from whatever they like grab their nose and bring them back. It was almost like a cartoon. The fat white dude, the smell from that lemon pound cake grabbed his nose and bring him back. So being able to be resourceful, he used the resources that he had. Music, and raising that money through the music, and the cultural influence and the cultural hatred and all those things that a lot of American people have with the police. Think about it. That's why a lot of people connected with NWA when they came out with that F the police and all these things. Like when you do a project, right, that is saying F the police, you're gonna connect with so many people because so many people have had horrible experiences. So I'm just saying that was his constitutional right, and that was genius on his part to help his case. And then his defense of it is even more hilarious and even more genius.
Sheriffs look into those safes, to your knowledge?
Yes, they did.
Deputies?
Yes.
And how did they get the combination?
I gave it to my ex-wife so the sheriff could pull my safe out the floor.
I think I want to
take it to
limit
the
pound
station
cake.
and put something in it and try to say that whatever they put in my safe was mine. So I went ahead and gave my ex-wife, who I didn't want to give my combination to, it was just safer. I went ahead and gave her my combination so they could open up the safe and realize that they just vandalized somebody that don't even have nothing in the safe.
And do you know what was in those safes?
It was absolutely nothing in the safes.
Don't you keep jewelry in those safes?
No.
Can you tell me that in your deposition, that you keep jewelry in those safes?
I do.
Was anything missing from the safes when you got home after the search?
I didn't put nothing in the safes.
Was anything missing from the safes when you got home?
Nothing was in them, so nothing was missing from the safe.
You talked to Randy Walters on the phone before you got home that
Because
evening during the search, didn't you? He told you that they were taking
that came out.
some money and some vape pens and a small amount of marijuana. He told you that.
Yes, sir.
Hey man, like just look at this is just hilarious, man. Just the smugness, just the in your faceness of this is hilarious. It is hilarious. You gotta laugh. You have to laugh. Just sitting there, you got the glasses, got the white stuff on his face after he shaved. You got the big suit on. It's funny because it's the white folk just getting even more mad. But let's keep listening.
You knew, didn't you, Mr. Foreman, that there had been an investigation by the Claremont County Sheriff's Office into the discrepancy about the cash that was missing from your home, correct? You knew there was an investigation.
Yeah, I knew the sheriffs was investigating themselves.
Oh, that's how you saw it.
Yes, sir.
Okay. And did you ever ask for a report so you could see how bad this investigation of themselves really was?
Yes, I was trying to get involved any way I can. The investigation was going on without any of my participation.
Did you ask for a copy of the report?
I did. I asked for everything. I was trying to be involved. I didn't.
So you've seen the report?
No, I have not.
Okay.
I just saw it a few minutes ago.
Well, you had an attorney when you got the cash returned, correct?
At the station?
Yes.
I had attorney. Yeah, my attorney was present.
Did
when
your
I got my
attorney
cash
ask for a copy of this report?
The Nabisco.
It wasn't in it when I got my cash back from
Oh,
the
he will.
station.
He
it wasn't an
reignited his
investigation
career
until we realized money
Put
was
some air in
missing.
his
Or did
career.
you contact your attorney and say, hey, get me a copy of that report?
Your Honor, I'm going to object. While Mr. Klingler wants to talk about his client's attorney-client privilege and maybe waive it, Mr. Foreman does have attorney-client privilege with his attorney at that time. And we are going to assert that privilege because it's privilege he has of right.
And so far, he hasn't asked anything privileged. So I appreciate the sensitivity, overrule the objection. We'll pick that. Thank you. Go ahead.
Thank you, Judge. Your testimony is you never saw a copy of Detective Robinson's report until today.
Yes, sir.
And that's because you didn't want to see a copy of the
I
investigation.
did want to see. You don't know what I want. I did want to see it.
You did.
I wanted everything that had something to do with my money coming.
And that was 3.5 years ago, correct? And you haven't seen a copy of that report that you wanted to see until this afternoon. Is that right?
That's right. I never had my money taken by cops. I didn't know how this go. I don't know about reports.
Right.
All I know is live on Fox 19 News, the lady admits that her department is short $400 of my money. That's all I know. I don't know how to investigate police officers taking money.
That's all you know, and that's all you know today, isn't it? That's the whole basis of your claim that your money was stolen, is that the amount of money that was in the bags is different from the amount of money that was written on the bag.
Yeah, my whole thing is they never should have raided me in the first place.
That's your whole thing.
That's my whole thing.
That's the point,
That's my whole
isn't
thing. If they never would have showed up, there would be no songs about them. I wouldn't know who they are. Their faces would not be on my video cameras. None of this, we wouldn't be in this room right now if they hadn't raided my house and didn't press no charges, didn't even know what they was doing. This whole thing is their fault, and they're suing me for their mistake.
And so you don't really care if they stole your money or not. You're just mad
I
about
do
what
care
they
about
did.
if they stole them.
But
Police officers shouldn't be stealing the civilians' money. So I do care. All of it is an outrage. This whole thing is an outrage.
You have no evidence that they
See
took
the
your money
marijuana
except
ring
for
you
the
got on.
amount on the bag isn't the same as the
How
amount.
about the lady admitting that she took?
Could you answer my?
She admitted that she took my money on live Fox 19 News. Go argue with the film clip.
Yeah.
Go argue with her admitting that she took my money.
Nobody admitted that they took your money.
Well, whatever. Go look at her admitting that the bag is short
Mr.
because it
Foreman,
stayed open all weekend long or 2 weeks after Brian and Officer Cooley just left it and just mishandled it and didn't do it right.
Just so we're honest with the jury here, Mr. Foreman, nobody admitted that they took your money, did they?
They admitted it was short.
Yes. Nobody
So it looked like
admitted
somebody
that they took your money. Correct?
But somebody had to take it if it's short.
It was short. She admitted. She said that it was short.
If it came in at one amount and then it was
usually it's 10,
400,
$5, $2 missing. How does $400 even come up missing? Odd.
yeah, he is.
You posted videos about Brian Newland doing hard drugs and snitching on his friend, and you posted those based on rumors, didn't you? We can look at your deposition, but before you argue with me, but isn't that a fact that you made those allegations based on rumors you said you heard?
It's a fact. William Newland is a convicted pedophile, and Brian Newland is his brother. After I zeroed in on Brian, I asked about him. Come to find out, he's a large statutory rapist that has sex with all kind of underage girls. He buys them beers and gets them drunk and all kind. That's probably the reason he had to leave the Adams County Sheriff Department, because he beats up his wife and he messed with underage girls, and he had to get out of town and go get a job in Northwood.
All right. You don't want to answer my question.
I do. Please ask another one.
Well, let me ask this one again so I can get an answer. Do you remember in your deposition when I asked you, you have no reason to think these rumors about Brian Newland are true, do you? And you said, well, it's more entertaining if it's true. and I can make some money. Remember that?
No, I don't. That's a however long that deposition was. You can read the deposition and it tells you.
Yeah, he did.
We have a copy, another copy of that, because I'll show it to you, and I can show you my copy. Refresh your recollection.
You're gonna refresh his recollection.
It's
Tree. Then you.
Thank you, Judge. If I can get it working here.
Your Honor, I would object to using the screen to refresh his recollection, that's publishing it to the jury. If he wants to refresh his recollection, he can show him it and then ask him a question, much how we would do in criminal law with the police report. If an officer didn't remember, we wouldn't show the report, we would show it to the officer. He would refresh his memory by reading it, and then we'd re-ask the question.
Do it that way, just make sure you think he reads it right. I'm just trying to get through the verbiage. Just make sure you think he reads it right. Otherwise, I have to wrestle with you about whether he read it right.
Sure.
So just read it. And then if we want to move it as an exhibit, you can do that.
Remember the deposition being taken, Mr.
Yeah.
Foreman, in your
We're
attorney's
gonna be talking about
office
this for years.
on September 3rd, 2024.
I remember the deposition.
And that deposition was taken in DJ Osborne's office.
Yes, sir.
That's the same office that you used to film that video that we saw last night with the actor playing Lieutenant Lisa Phillips. And that actor was sitting in the same chair that Lisa Phillips sat in during her deposition, wasn't she?
Yeah, the actor played Lisa because I wouldn't have known her if she had came to my house.
What he called it.
Yeah, right.
Right.
That's the office
Oh,
we're
yeah.
talking about, and that's the
Cameras
office
in this
where I
house
took your
definitely
deposition,
safe.
right?
Yes, sir.
And in that deposition, I'm referring to page 84.
Oh, you know, everybody got skits
of the
ready for this.
deposition.
Everybody got skits ready for this uptight.
I had asked you about,
Object, he's testifying.
No, he's using his deposition to refresh his memory. He's doing it right, so sit down, please. Go ahead.
did I ask you this question, and did you give me these answers, Mr. Foreman? Question, would it be fair to say these are rumors? Answer, you know, Stephanie said it, and you know, some other people that don't remember, you know, I'd be in a hurry in Walmart or something, they shake my hand, yeah, Brian used to do
Going
this,
on,
used
Blue
to do
Devil.
that. Then something, I didn't know him, but this is what I've heard. Question, you don't have any particular reason to think that it's true or not true, right? Answer, well, it's more entertaining if it is true, and I could probably make some money and capitalize on it if it's true.
What are the line numbers?
Starting with line 7 and ending with line 21.
Go ahead.
Did I ask you those questions and you give me those answers?
I don't remember. That was a long time ago.
But that's my question.
I've always
Thank you.
put Brian Newland next to his brother. So that's
Well,
my basis, and I've always
We noticed that.
yeah.
And
yeah,
your
so-
attorney's going to be able to ask you whatever questions he wants. Right now, I'd like you to focus on my questions, Mr. Foreman. You have no evidence that Brian Newland ever molested little boys, do you?
If you look at the picture, he's holding the little boy's butt. It's too much for me. So if you just use your eyeballs, and then his brother's a convicted pedophile.
That's your evidence
Hey.
for posting that
Well,
pedophile stuff
hey, you know,
about
I'm just
little
trying to
boys.
figure out.
This
I'm
is
trying to figure
hilarious.
out what kind of guy is kicking on my door. What kind of guy is walking around my house reading my bank statements? It's a dude that's possibly a pedophile, got a convicted pedophile brother, deputized by the sheriff, walking around possibly
This is
stealing my
hilarious.
money. I'm just trying to figure out what's going on as I zoom in with my cameras. That's not the type of guy I don't think should be on the police force.
I'm going to refer you again to your deposition. If you don't trust my reading of it, I'm happy to give it to you, Mr. Foreman. But on page 98 of your deposition, on that same day, beginning at 9/11, did I ask you this question and did you give me this answer? And again, the only evidence, you don't have any evidence that Brian Newland is a pedophile or plays with little boys. Answer, no, sir. Did I ask you that question? Did you give me that answer?
I don't remember.
Further along there.
Beginning with line 11, ending with line 14 on page 98. You have no evidence that Lisa Phillips stole your money, do you?
I know if she hadn't raided my house, we wouldn't be having this conversation. Nor a lawsuit or nothing. They never should have been at my house.
Since you're not going to answer my question, I'm going to go back to your deposition again, Mr. Foreman, page 102.
Your Honor, if I may, can I just enter a continuing objection so I don't have to object every time he does the deposition?
Oh, it's too important, so please be specific. Thank you.
So I would enter a notation of objection at this point. He is now testifying for witness. He is no longer refreshing his recollection.
Don't be sensitive to that, so you can rephrase and also state that. You made the conclusion you didn't have memory, so you got to go back and fix that.
All right, Judge, I will. Thank you. Do you remember telling me in your deposition, Mr. Foreman, that you don't have any evidence
She did.
that Lisa Phillips stole your money?
Lick 'em low, Lisa stole his money.
Yeah, I she cut off the cameras, but I didn't know who took them. I didn't know who took them. So, for all the officers was a suspect in the at first, because I didn't know where. After the deposition, I realized that Brian Newland was in charge of the money, and I knew where to focus everything. But at first, all the cops was a suspect, especially after they cut off my cameras, and I couldn't see what they were doing.
They're stealing.
All right. Well, let me. So you don't remember? Is that what you're telling me?
I remember telling you that Lisa, probably didn't take my money, but I just didn't know. I just knew it was missing. They cut off my cameras, so all of them were suspects until I figured it out.
So until you figured it out?
Until everybody figured it out. Until it was solved of where the missing money was.
And with the afro.
All right. So just to clear this up and move on, you admit that you don't have any evidence that Lisa Phillips stole your money?
No.
But Afroman used to being the only white man, only black man in the world.
Having this conversation or be
most of his fan base is white, so he used to being around a whole bunch of white people.
And is it true that one of your big motivation, really, in making all of these posts is to make money?
To pay for the damage that they brought to my house under the circumstance that they shouldn't have even been there in the first place.
Okay. So the answer to my question is yes, your motivation was to make money.
To pay for the damages that they brought to my house under the circumstances that they shouldn't have been there in the first place.
Have you made enough yet to make up for it?
Not really.
How much have you made on it?
I don't know exactly, but it wasn't hardly $24,000.
$24,000.
It wasn't that. It wasn't that.
You're still making money on today, right? With the new posts and advertisements and things.
It's publicity.
You're still selling merchandise, aren't you?
No, publicity. Just me. Just everybody. Thanks to them bringing publicity to this. It's just an opportunity to run numbers up and be an entertainer.
Most people didn't know about it until the lawsuit.
And the more lies, outrageous lies you tell about them, the more money you can make, right?
Fact, they never should have came to my house in the first place. Fact, if they hadn't have came to my house, they wouldn't have put themselves on the video camera and in my music career. All of this is their fact. All of this is their fault. And they have the audacity to sue me. These people and you are the predators and the victim at the same time.
So what they did, searching your house, gave you the right to do everything you...
Under the circumstance that I got freedom of speech, after they run around my house with guns and kick down my door, I got the right to kick a can in my backyard, use my freedom of speech, turn my bad times into a good time. Yes, I do. And I think I'm a sport for doing so. Because I don't...
We do too. Yeah, Elizabeth. His hit song, his biggest song to date is that because I got a high song. Da 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 some because I got high. That was his song. You know, it was a cult classic. It's a cult classic, and so this just reignited his career. So I remember watching Dogma. I remember that movie.
I'll go to their house, kick down their doors, flip them off on their surveillance cameras, then try to play the victim and sue them.
You were at Lisa Phillips's deposition, correct?
Yes, sir.
In your lawyer's office.
Yes, sir.
Same office where you filmed part of that video last Friday.
Yes, sir.
And you saw how upset she was when she was answering your lawyer's questions about how this had affected her, right?
Yes, yes,
And you saw your attorney say, do we need to take a break?
yes,
And you saw her say, no, let's go on and get this over with.
yes, sir.
You saw all that.
Yes.
You knew she was upset.
Just like she knew I was upset when she was standing in front of my kids with an AR-15 with her hand around the trigger ready to shoot me. Just like she knew I was upset when she cut my cameras. But I'm not a person, she is. So I'm sorry for being a victim. Let's talk about the predators.
Okay. So you saw all that. You saw how upset she was. You heard the testimony about her children. You heard the testimony at the depositions about Randy Newland's daughter who came home upset. You heard all that, but you're still posting stuff about
Yeah,
it.
because I understand it was Randy's fault and all of their fault for coming in my house in the first place. So if they hadn't came to my house, their children wouldn't be saying nothing. None of this would be going home if they did their research and did things right. So all of this is their fault.
Right.
And now they want to sue me for their mistake.
Is there anything that could change your mind about what you're doing to these deputies?
Is there anything that can change my mind about the fact that they shouldn't have been at my house in the first place? Is there anything that can change my mind about how my money shouldn't have been touched in the first place? No.
Sucker.
That's all the questions I have. Thank you.
Right.
You're welcome.
Right. Like, get out of here. How would he feel sorry for them when they the ones did him wrong?
I'm sorry. Mr.
That's
Ross.
stupid.
Do you want to continue the direct examination of your client now?
Your Honor, I was going to actually ask for a sidebar so we can talk about it.
Okay, so let's talk about it.
Okay, so I was actually going to not do cross Mr. Foreman this time. I was going to hold off until our case in chief.
Yeah, I just offered you the chance to do that. So do you want to do your direct examination on your case in chief right now?
Not right now.
Like the pogo stick of witnesses up and down is.
So I'm gonna stop it right there. For the sake of time, but the link to the full video is in the description. So Afroman was able to use his constitutional rights. His legal defense relied heavily on First Amendment free speech protections. His lawyer argued the songs were satire, artistic expression, and commentary on public officials. The jury ultimately ruled unanimously in his favor. This shows that legal rights themselves can be a form of power when successfully invoked, but Black folk, we got to be strategic about how we move. The jury rejected the deputy's claim and cleared Afroman of liability. This outcome demonstrates a key insight. Power can be challenged when someone effectively uses, or in this case, power was challenged when Afroman effectively used media, law, economic creativity, and public attention. Those things, in this case, cultural power or cultural influence, was able to combat institutional power and get a first down. Once again, power can be challenged when someone effectively uses media, law, economic creativity, and public attention. So, power is the ability to control resources, institutions, and narratives. Once again, power is the ability to control resources, institutions, and narratives. In this Afroman case, the police used institutional power against him, but Afroman fought back using media power, economic creativity, and constitutional law, which goes to cultural influence, right? The police had institutional power. Afroman used cultural power. That's how we do it, man. Blueprint for Black Power. Get your copy. Every Monday, we're doing these readings. Now, next Monday is going to be back regular time at 1 p.m. with the book reading, but I want to experiment. So every now and then I might do some of these book readings live because this was kind of fun. I ain't gonna go front. This was kind of fun connecting all of this stuff. Blueprint to Black Power. Get your copy. Every Monday at 1 p.m. I'm releasing the book reading right here on the Chosen Giants. It's a thick ass book. It's a thick ass book. So we're gonna be reading this book. So check in on Mondays at 1 p.m. because we're getting into chapter 2. Chapter 2 starts on page 27. And we're getting into chapter 2 next week, so make sure you look out for it. There will not be a live show tomorrow night. There will not be a Tuesday night live. I won't be able to do a Tuesday night live tomorrow night. That's why that's another reason why I did the live tonight, so I can make sure I still give a live during the week, but there won't be a live tomorrow night. But look out for the content. I still got the lecture, my Dr. Ben lecture coming out tomorrow at 1 p.m. And we still got everything else coming out. So be tuned in. And I appreciate everybody for the support. I appreciate everybody tuning in. I appreciate the comments. I dang sure appreciate the super chat by Blue Sox. Thank you again, Blue Sox, for the $10 super chat. Thank you. And everybody who tuning in. Hey, man, let's learn. Let's utilize the information that they gave us. Let's utilize the information to help transform the future for ourselves and regain real power as a group, or even as a critical mass, but understand power and understand how to use power. The score is 77-0. It's the fourth quarter. 3 minutes to go on the clock. We got a first down. So what? We got to come back. No matter what. I know the odds are crazy, but we have to come back and win the game with only 3 minutes left. So what we going to do? Hey, man, I love you all. Please hit that like button, comment, subscribe, share. Remember to please support the Black Biz Talent fundraiser that's available on this channel. It's available on the for my Black Biz Talent is Changing Black Lives video. So make sure you check that video out to support the fundraiser, as well as my live stream I did the other day, The Truth About Supporting Black-Owned Businesses. Both of those videos are linked to the live or to the fundraiser, excuse me. So please support the fundraiser. Supporting the fundraiser supports Black businesses. Let's let that Black dollar circulate within our community. No, thank you all. Thank you all. Thank you all. And Will Justice, thank you for bringing the story to my attention about Mercutio. And y'all watch that video. Watch my live stream from yesterday where I'm giving information on the brother Mercutio Southall Sr., who is wrongly accused of arson in a Walmart. So check out that video and support that brother. We need more views on that video. So with that being said, y'all enjoy y'all Monday night. Oh, you told me he called. I'm gonna check it out. Y'all enjoy y'all Monday night. Love yourselves. Let's be better as Black people. And I'll see y'all live again Saturday. See y'all later. Y'all saw it, Will. I'm gonna check it out. I saw it.